Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to install macOS Ventura on any Windows laptop or desktop. So we are setting up a full Hackintosh and we are going to also do a boot with Windows. So we can have Windows running on the same PC and we have macOS Ventura running on this same PC. Now these are the requirements. First, we need macOS Ventura Image File. Secondly, we need balenaEtcher, which we are going to use to create a bootable disk. Thirdly, we need OpenCore EFI based on our hardware. Fourthly, we need GenSMBIOS. We also need MiniTool Partition Wizard. We need Explorer++, and we need ESP Mounter Pro. Now, I'll provide the link to each and every one of these files in the video description so you can download yourself and follow the video. We also need a 16 gig flash drive, and that is where we're going to be creating our bootable disk, so make sure you have a pen drive of 16 GB. If you have anything more than that, it should be okay. But then to get the OpenCore EFI files, we have to know our CPU model. So to check your CPU model, hold Ctrl Shift Escape key and it should open Task Manager. Now your Task Manager, click on Performance and click on your CPU. By the right, you can see over here mine is Intel Core i5 and this is the CPU model number, which is 4570. Now this means this is a 4th generation CPU starting from 4. So we have to check the code name for 4th generation CPU, which you can see on the screen, and then we are going to download EFI for 4th generation based CPU. So yours may be different. So if it is 6th gen or 7th gen or 10th gen, then you can check the code name and then download the right EFI for your hardware. Now we can start the setup. So let's head to our download folder. Right here I have macOS Ventura Image File, and I also have our OpenCore EFI file, which you should download based on your hardware. Now we have to download every other file, so let's head to our browser. The first thing we have to download is balenaEtcher. Now remember, the link to each and every one of these software is in the video description, so you don't really have to search. You can just click on the link from the video description and then download each and every one of them. So we are about to download balenaEtcher for Windows. So let's click on download and downloading. The next thing we also have to download is GenSMBIOS. Now GenSMBIOS is what we are going to use to generate a unique serial for our macOS machine, so it is recognized as a macOS machine. Now you can see the link to GitHub, link in description as well. So we are just going to click on the first link, go into GitHub. And this is GenSMBIOS. We can just click on the code by the right and then download zip. And we should download GenSMBIOS. Next, we also have to download MiniTool Partition Wizard. So we can just search for MiniTool Partition Wizard. Download. We are just going to download the free version. We don't need any of the paid features. Now we also have to download Explorer++. So let's just search for Explorer++. Download 64 bits and we are ready. Now lastly, we have to download ESP Mounter Pro, but we are not going to use it now. We are going to use it after the installation. So we can head to Etechbox.com. Now this is my website where I upload contents on Hackintosh and many other things. So just search for Ventura and you should see this blog post I made on how to install macOS Ventura on Windows PC, which is what we are doing right now. So if you go to the requirements over here, you can see ESP Mounter Pro, which we can just click on download and then download to our PC. Now I'll provide the direct link to this page directly, so you don't really have to just start searching and all that. But that is how you can get ESP Mounter Pro. We're going to use it after the installation. And we are done with that. Now we can close our browser and then open our download folder. Okay, so we have all the files ready. Now the first thing we have to do is install balenaEtcher. So just double click on it. Agree to the terms. successfully installed. Now connect your pen drive to your PC and it should be recognized here. You can see over here, this is my pen drive which has been recognized, 15.7 gig, which is 16 gig. So make sure it is selected, and now click on flash from file and then select our macOS image file. Over here you can see 14.6 gigabytes macOS Ventura. Open and then click on flash to start creating a bootable disk using our USB and macOS Ventura. Now this may take about 20 minutes or more. It all depends on the read and write speed of your drive, so you just have to wait patiently. Now while this is running, we could work on other things. So let's head back to our download folder, and the next thing we have to do is partition the drive we want to install macOS. So head to your search bar and then search for disk management. Click on create and format hard disk partitions, and here we go. Now let's head to this PC. You can see 2 partitions on my PC. This is just one drive with 2 partitions. Now on disk management, you can see disk 0 over here with 232 gigabytes and disk 1 with 223 gigabytes. So I have 2 drives on my PC. Now this drive over here, this partition over here is running Linux, and this is the EFI partition for Linux on that drive. And my disk 0 over here, this is a backup drive. C drive is where I'm currently running Windows. So we have to look for a partition that has more storage and we can install macOS there. But if you really want to install macOS on your entire drive, then you just have to back up the contents and then format the drive entirely, then you can run macOS. But in this case, I want to run macOS alongside Windows on disk 0. So on the backup drive, you can see I have 93 gigabytes of free storage. So I'm gonna shrink some volume of that storage and then install macOS there. So we're gonna right click on the partition and then click on shrink volume. Okay, so macOS needs about 56 gigabytes to run. So I'm just gonna give it about 70. This shouldn't be up to 70 gigabytes. This is 70,000 megabytes, and then shrink. And you can see 68 gigabytes of unallocated space. Now we can right click, new simple volume, next, assign a letter to the drive. Let's just call it M, and then let's give it the volume a name. So let's call this macOS Ventura so we can easily identify it. Next, and then finish. So we've created a new partition where we are going to install macOS, and you can see it on our Explorer, macOS Ventura. Now this is where we will be installing macOS. So we can close disk partition management and head back to our download folder. Now we can generate SMBIOS for our EFI OpenCore file while this is still running. So let's extract our OpenCore EFI file. So we're just going to right click, extract with WinRAR or any other file extractor. Okay, so this is the extracted folder. Let's open it and then copy just this folder. I'm just going to cut it, paste it on the download here. Now we can delete both folders, the EFI zip file, and we no longer need both of them. Now this is our EFI folder right here, which we are going to use for the installation. We also have to extract GenSMBIOS, and we can delete the zip since we no longer need it. Now open GenSMBIOS. Let's open master and then run the Windows batch file over here, GenSMBIOS Windows batch file. Double click on it. Now make sure you're connected to the internet. Now let's head back to the download directory, open EFI folder, and then open OC. Okay, now on GenSMBIOS, enter 1 to install and update Mac Serial, and then hit enter. Now this is why you need an internet connection. It should download some packages and then update. So you can see Mac Serial has been updated. Now enter 2 and then hit enter to select config plist file. Right, now drag config plist file from the OC folder onto GenSMBIOS and just drop it there. Now hit enter. Now we have to generate SMBIOS for our macOS installation. So enter 3 and then hit enter. Now we have to specify the SMBIOS we want to generate. So in this case, we are generating SMBIOS for iMac Pro 1,1. Hit enter. And it has been successfully generated. Hit enter to return. We also have to generate unique UUID, so press 4 and then hit enter. Hit enter to return. Now we can enter Q and then close. So we are also done with configuring our EFI file with the SMBIOS we just generated. Now we can delete GenSMBIOS since we no longer need it. Now all we have to do is wait for this process to finish so we can add up the EFI file we just modified to our EFI partition on the flash drive and then begin the installation. So it has been completed successfully. Now we can close balenaEtcher, open our download folder, and then let's extract Explorer++. Extracted. Now we also have to install MiniTool Partition Wizard, so let's double click on it. Okay. Continue with the free edition. Just gonna untick the rest of it. Now let's launch. Okay, so if you look down here, you can see disk 3, which is a removable disk, and you can see the icon by the side. This is 14.6 gigabytes, and you can see a partition right here called EFI on our removable disk. Now right click on this EFI partition and then click on change letter. Now we have to assign a new letter to it so we can easily identify it. So I'm just going to give it X. Okay. And then click on apply down here. Yes. Now we can close MiniTool Partition Wizard and then open Explorer++, which we extracted. Now you can see Explorer++ again here. So right click and then run as administrator. Okay, so here we go. Now this is our EFI partition X, which we changed the letter just now. So open the EFI partition and then delete everything inside. Okay, now head to your download folder. So just locate the download folder and then copy our EFI folder over here, which we already modified. So let's copy the folder and then head back to this PC, EFI X, which is our EFI partition on our flash drive, and then paste it there. And we are good. Now we can restart our PC and then start the installation. Now we no longer need Explorer++, balenaEtcher, and MiniTool Partition Wizard. Now the ESP Mounter Pro, we're going to make use of it after the installation. And your EFI file, you just have to keep it somewhere safe. In case you mess up something, you can just restore it back with our EFI here. So we can restart and then start the installation. Hold F9 or F12 to boot into your BIOS. It may be different depending on the PC you're using. Now let's go to BIOS setup. Okay, so the first thing you would want to do is switch from RAID to AHCI. So go to your system configuration and then go down to SATA operation. Now switch from RAID to AHCI. Yes. Next thing you would want to do is switch from legacy boot to UEFI. So go to your boot sequence and then make sure UEFI is selected, and then after that make sure you disable secure boot, else you won't be able to run macOS. So make sure secure boot is disabled. Now this may be different depending on the PC you're using, but you should be able to work around that. After making the changes, we can apply and then we can exit. It should restart. Now hold F9 or F12 again to boot into the BIOS section. Now select your USB drive, you can see in my case right there, and then hit enter. First reset NVRAM and it should restart again, and then we can proceed to install macOS Ventura. Now select the language for the installation and then continue. Now go to disk utility. We have to first erase the disk. Continue. And if you look by the side, you're going to see macOS Ventura, which is the disk we created earlier while on Windows. So that is where we want to install macOS. By the right, click on erase. We have to erase this disk so that Mac can recognize it. So erase with APFS format and then erase. It may fail, but if that happens, just click on done and then click on erase again for the second time. Make sure you select APFS. It is a format that macOS recognizes, and then erase. Done. Now we can close this window and then install macOS Ventura. Continue. Continue. Agree to the terms. Select our disks which we erased, and then we can continue to begin the installation. Now this may take some time, probably about an hour or less. You just have to wait patiently. It may restart severally while installing, but you just have to wait. So after about 45 minutes, we are ready to start the setup. It has been successfully installed. Now select your country or region and then continue. Continue. Not now. Now you just have to set based on your preference. So I'm just gonna run through this process. Set up with your name, username and password which you're going to use to access your machine. Light or dark mode, whichever you prefer. You can change this later even after this setup. I'm just going to go with dark mode. And we are up. So we've successfully installed macOS Ventura alongside our Windows, and we can use it for whatever we want. Now after the installation, we have to move our EFI files to the EFI partition on our drive. Right now it is currently on the removable disk, which we don't want to be booting with a removable disk. So we have to move the EFI files to the right partition on our drive. Now I'm just going to locate my ESP Mounter Pro and the EFI folder as well. So I'm just going to drag it to my desktop. Now you can download this file directly even after the installation. So you can download it, and you can also get the EFI folder from your flash drive which is connected currently. Now let's extract ESP Mounter Pro. Now let's double click to run ESP Mounter Pro. Enter your password to confirm the action. Install. And ESP Mounter Pro is now running. Now if you look at the top right, you will see a button for ESP Mounter Pro. Click on it. And here we go. Now click on show all disk. You just have to scroll down and you should be able to locate EFI partition on your drive. Now it wouldn't be that much compared to mine. I have 2 drives running and I have lots of partitions. That is why it is showing a lot right now. And you can see EFI system partition right here. Click on mount and then click on open volume. Open the volume, and right here you can see our EFI folder, which currently has Windows inside, and I want to run Windows and macOS, so I really don't want to replace it. If I just want to run macOS, I would just drag and then drop it there to replace Windows EFI, but we don't want to do that since we want to run Windows as well. So we're just going to create a new folder inside our EFI folder. Let's call this macOS. Open the folder, and then let's open our EFI files on our desktop, the macOS EFI. Copy the files inside there and then paste it in the new folder called macOS we created in our EFI partition. We can close that. So we've modified our EFI with both macOS EFI and Windows EFI. Now we can restart our PC, add macOS to our boot options, and then run macOS whenever we want. So I'm just going to drag ESP Mounter Pro to my applications in case I need it later. Now we can restart. Let's boot into our BIOS again. BIOS setup. Now go to your boot sequence and then add a new boot option. Let's call the boot option name macOS. And then for file name, click on that arrow, EFI, macOS, and then navigate to OC, and you can see OpenCore.EFI. Click on OK to add it. It may be different depending on the PC you're using, but it should be similar and you should be able to work your way around it. Now we can boot back into our BIOS, select macOS, and we have access to our machine. Now we can select macOS from the boot options, hit enter, and that is all. You can now remove your USB drive and you should be able to run macOS. Now we can sign in with our password, and that is all. Actually, this is really not that difficult to set up if you follow the instructions. So basically, this is how to run macOS Ventura on a Windows PC and dual boot with Windows as well. Whenever you want, you can switch to Windows and you can also use macOS. If this video was helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notification. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.